Hello guys, welcome to your second tutorial. How are you all doing? It's certainly here in the UK. We're in lockdown and we've had a lot of flood warnings, so it's been quite a hell of a day today, to be honest, for me. But oh well, here we are. We're getting on with life. We're learning stuff, and that's what matters, right? So let's get into it. We Today we are going to be looking at. Um, so we're going to be continuing from the same folder structure. I mean, we didn't have much last time, but we'll continue with the same directory. And today we'll be learning a little bit about the file system module that Node provides, and it basically we are going to be looking at how to write from a file, write a file, and we are going to be learning about reading from a file. Yeah, let's get started. So, disclaimer. First, I am basically using the Node version 10.4.0. So just ensure it's good to basically have the same version so that you don't get any confusions. So same file where you were previously. If you remember last time we had an index.js, so we just want to basically remove that file because we're going to be doing something from scratch. So just make sure that nothing is inside that directory. Yep, we have nothing, so that's good. So what we're going to be doing is, if you installed Node, you would have installed something called npm, and what that is it basically stands for Node Package Manager, and essentially what it is it's kind of like a dependency manager. It's in the name, like Node Package Manager, you could say. So its job is to basically, well, one of the jobs that it does is install packages for your um, application, and also it's kind of like something that builds a boilerplate of some sort, which we're going to demonstrate now. And you be basically again check for npm and what version you have. I have 6.1.0, so we are going to dive straight into it. So first thing that we're going to do in this directory is run npm init, and what that basically is going to do is, like I told you, you're going to construct that boilerplate. And if we press enter, first thing it does, it asks you for your package name, and you can basically leave most of these blank. So version 1, that's fine. Writing files for description, let's just say writing and reading files, and we can press enter. Entry point, this is basically going to be you what what node is going to look at by default, which file is it going to run by default. So in our case, we'll just say we'll call it server.js, and leave this one blank for now. Leave that blank. uh, Again, leave that blank. Here you can write your name. I'll just write Mohammed, and just keep pressing enter. That's fine. So if you then open it with the IDE of your choice, you will then basically see that this package.json file has been created. And by the way, guys, I realized last time the text was really small, so I'm going to, get the syntax as big as possible or as readable as possible for you guys. So you can see that everything that that kind of npm init command asked us for, we have basically constructed this blob of JSON in this package.json file. And if you've worked with Node before, you probably have seen this a lot. But if it's your first time, this is the key thing here to recognize straight away that this thing is probably a Node project. If you see a file and it has a package.json, then that thing is very, very, very most likely, if not certainly, going to be a Node-based project. So what we are going to do is we've specified here that server.js is going to be the first thing that our application looks at. So we are going to create that file now, and we're going to name it server.js. And what we're going to do now is let's just replicate what we had before by saying console.log hello world. And one thing that we're going to do is if we just rename this test to start, and if we change whatever's inside here to be node server, then what's going to happen is basically it's going to say when we run start, then we want to basically run the server.js file. I think it runs without the js.js at the end anyway, so I think we'll be okay. So if we go back on to our terminal and just clear this right here, so if we do npm start, then there we go, we see hello world. So we've basically created our app, but like with a package JSON, it's recognized as a node application and doing the same thing as it did before. So what we're gonna start to do is we are gonna let's get rid of this, and as I mentioned at the start of this video, we are going to create we're gonna do some kind of mechanism where we start to write a file and read files. So the first thing that we're going to do is write the following. So const fs equals require fs. So what we're basically saying here is we are creating a variable and assigning it to require fs, and what fs is basically a module, but it's or a package, and it's an inbuilt package that already comes with Node. So in the future, when we be working with packages, we're going to be using the npm registry npm command to install the packages, but in this case, as it comes built in, fs, which is file system, should work without doing anything additional. So if we press enter, go down to this line, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new file. So the way that we do that is by doing fs.write file, open parentheses, and then the first argument that this takes is going to be in a string the name of your file. So let's just name it maybe new file, and let's just make this a text-based file. Then the next argument that this takes is going to be the content of the file. So again, let's just stick to what we had before and say hello world. And then finally, the third argument is going to be a function, and that function is going to return an error. And what we are going to do is we're going to do something with that error. So we're going to say if there is an error, then please throw it, because we want to know if there's been some sort of error when you've tried to create this, basically when things go wrong. So if we go back onto here, and if we now run the same command, then it's done something. Then if we see here, we've actually created a new file, and then the content of that file is what we expected, hello world. Brilliant. So the next thing we might want to do is read from the file. So how we're going to do that, we are going to do something similar as to what we did before. So from the fs module, we're saying at this time we want to read file, open parentheses, and again, like before, the first argument is going to be what file do you want to read. So we're going to say, well, we want to read new file dot text, and then this time this only takes 2 arguments, mandatory ones anyway, and it says okay, the second one is going to be a function, and that will take the error, but alongside the error it's going to take another argument and data. And what we are going to do is we are going to say, hey, let's just copy line number 4. We're going to say, hey, if there's an error, print out that error because we want to see it. And then what else we want to do in this case is we want to read from the content of that file, right? And where are we going to get that from? Well, we're going to get that from data right here. So if we say, okay, console.log, let's just maybe say something like the content of the file inside new file.txt is, and then space, and then data, because that's what we expect the content to be, right? So we're going to save that, and we are going to go back to our terminal window, and we are going to when we run this, we are going to expect to see the content of the file inside new file text is, and then hello world, because that's what the data is. But if we run this, something funky has happened here, right? So what it's saying is the content of the file inside new file text is this buffer 4865. What on earth is this? So what this is basically Node interprets this as a binary format, or this module determines it as a raw binary format. So what we actually want to do to solve this is say data, we're going to use something called toString, and toString is basically saying, hey, take this buffer format and just convert it to a string, because it's so that it's readable to us. So if we go back on here, run the command again, and there we are. We get the content of the file inside new file text is hello world. So brilliant, guys. We've learned a little bit about the FS module, how to create a Node app, and we've learned a little bit about the package.json file, the structure. When you see a package.json, know most likely it is a Node app. Then we've learned today about how to write a file and read a file. Now this may seem very basic at first, but you can do a lot of powerful things with this, and we're going to be continuing from the exact same spot. So stay tuned for the next video, guys. Thank you very much.